Budgeting for retirement can feel like navigating uncharted waters. How do you make your savings stretch without sacrificing the quality of life that you've worked so hard to build? For many, the idea of transitioning from a steady paycheck to managing a stream of fixed incomes can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. In today's episode, we'll explore practical, flexible budgeting strategies that align with your passions and lifestyle, helping you to create a financial plan that grows with you. Retirement is a new adventure. Let's make sure your budget helps support that. Hello and welcome. Danette here. Thank you for joining me on the Ready to Retire podcast. In this podcast, we explore the tools, strategies, and mindset you need to retire with clarity and excitement. I'm also pleased to announce that my new book, The Early Start Retirement Plan, is now available on Amazon. Ways to design your life and bring in activities, hobbies, and passions that you might want to do during retirement. This book is loaded with ideas to get your creative juices flowing and help you design a lifestyle that you can start today. We don't want you to have to wait until you actually retire to start doing the things that you love and enjoying the hobbies and activities that you're passionate about. If you've been wondering how to effectively budget for retirement while planning for inflation, unexpected expenses, and even time to do the things that you really enjoy, then you're in the right place. Let's dive into today's episode and get you one step closer to your dream retirement. As a child, I vividly remember my Grammy always talking about living on a fixed income. She always talked about the fact that she couldn't spend recklessly, that she had to be careful about every penny. As a child, I always associated this idea of being on a fixed income as something very negative and really a lot of fear. And I noticed that this is what happens when people go to retire. You're going from having that steady paycheck into kind of an uncertainty, like how much is going to be coming in on a regular basis? How much can your savings give you in retirement? And this is very troubling for many Americans, this idea of living on a fixed income, especially when we have things like inflation and fluctuations in the stock market. Today, I want to talk about changing our language a little bit. Instead of thinking of retirement as being on a fixed income, which implies the same number that doesn't change, I want us to think about this as being on a variable income stream or a flexible income stream. I'm going to talk about some methods to help us combat things like inflation and changes in the stock market and help give us room for our hobbies and our activities that we love and enjoy. We're going to do that by talking about creating some variable income in retirement instead of fixed income. Let's start by talking about some of the challenges that we experience in retirement. The first one is that a lot of our regular income sources are fixed. We might get a fixed pension, Social Security. We might be relying on our RMDs every year. And even though Social Security does increase a little bit with inflation, it doesn't quite keep up with inflation. When we have the uncertainty of longer lifespans and health issues, it makes it really hard to balance how long we're going to live and these income sources that do stay sort of fixed. The other challenge we face in retirement is adjusting our spending habits. What typically happens when we start retirement is we all of a sudden have all of this time and we dive in and want to do all the hobbies that we've been postponing while we were working. and we want to go on vacations and travel and do all the home improvement projects. And so initially, when we first retire, expenses are very high and almost as much as when you were working. And also, your health is ostensibly better when you're younger. So you might be able to travel, where when you're older, you might not have the energy or the physical ability to travel as much. When we first retire, our expenses tend to be higher than we expected. I think one of the biggest challenges that retirees face when doing their budgeting is planning for unexpected expenses. Maybe there was damage during a storm and you had to have a roof replaced. Maybe there was something in your home that broke unexpectedly and you have now a big deductible or higher homeowner's insurance. These unexpected expenses can really be frightening because it's hard to know how much to plan for when something's unexpected. The other big challenge that can happen is for those of you who want to retire early. You want to retire before you reach full Social Security age, and that can pose even additional. So, how do we solve these problems when we're creating and designing a financial plan or a retirement income stream? The first thing that you have to do is write down a list of what those income streams are. How much do you expect? One of the biggest mistakes people make is they start taking their Social Security benefit when they turn 62. Most people in the country turn 62 and turn on Social Security. If you were to delay even a couple of years, every year that you delay, the amount that you receive increases by about 8%. And the other thing that happens, especially if you're a married couple, spousal benefit would be greatly reduced if you take your Social Security before you reach full retirement age. When you're planning on doing your budgeting for the retirement years, you want to map out when your income streams are going to occur and you look at delaying Social Security as long as you can. You want to try to get to that full retirement age. Depending on how old you are now, most of us full retirement age is 67. And I imagine that number might be going up in the future. Right now, know what your own full retirement age is. We'll put a chart in the description below so you can look up your year you were born and see what your full retirement age is. If you are eligible to collect Social Security, you want to wait until full retirement age if possible. And the exception to that might be if you were concerned about a health issue or something like that, then you would maybe want to take it earlier. Definitely, there's some things to consider there, but in general, it would be better if you wait until you get to full retirement age. You want to have a really clear list of all your sources of income. Make a list of all your income sources in retirement and try to make a list of the timing. Like, when will they kick in? Especially if you're thinking about retiring earlier. The other thing to consider is your retirement savings, your 401ks, your IRAs, your after-tax savings, your brokerage accounts, mutual funds. All of that money can create an income stream that is flexible. You get to pick how much you take out from your investments. Then you want to make a list of all your expenses, and you want to think of things like medical, insurance, medicine, and things like that. And you have to remember things like travel. That can be very variable. Like, how much travel are you going to want to do? And then how much is it going to cost to do your hobbies? Like, over and above just regular rent, utilities, and groceries and gasoline and car maintenance. Buying a new vehicle, how often are you going to buy a vehicle? When you're doing your budget, you want to make a list of all your expenses and consider the things that don't happen monthly, but happen periodically every 2 to 3 years. also want to have a third section of your budget for emergencies. When you were working and saving to get ready to retire, you probably had a emergency reserve savings. Hopefully you did. And if you've seen other episodes, I like to call it an adventure fund because at some point, if you don't use it for an emergency, that you would maybe use it for a vacation or travel or do something fun with it. If you had an emergency reserve while you were working, you probably want to keep at least some amount in place going forward. You probably want to take a formula like 6 months of living expenses to be in an emergency reserve. It's not exactly the same thing you're trying to protect when you were working. You're trying to protect against getting laid off. So you want to have an emergency reserve for that. Now you're trying to protect for the unexpected large household expenses or health expenses. Those are the two big things that really come up for unexpected expenses. So you want to maintain an emergency reserve in retirement as well. And the way that I recommend putting all of these things together is to use some kind of a financial planning tool. It's nice to have all this data in an Excel spreadsheet, but it's really too complicated to put everything together in an Excel spreadsheet and calculate inflation. Different items of expenses have different inflation rates. Like food and groceries might be one inflation rate, but medical could be another. And travel might not have any inflation because you might just say, here's my budget for travel every year. But I would suggest getting with a financial advisor or getting access to a financial planning tool. We have a free financial planning tool that's available that you can log in and start keying in some of these amounts. Those financial planning tools will really help calculate the timing of your income and expenses. One of the favorite things I like about building a financial plan is we can do things like stress test. We can say, what happens if the market goes down? How much income will the portfolio generate? How much will it affect their lifestyle if the stock market goes down in value? You can do that easily in the financial planning tools, but it's really hard to do on an Excel spreadsheet. You can work with a financial advisor to help you calculate how much can you take out that will allow you the flexibility to continue to take more out over the years. We build in different inflation rates to different types of expenses. Somebody who starts out, maybe they're taking $5,000 a month from their investments now. In 5 years, that might be $6,000 or $7,000 a month. And that gives you the flexibility to manage the uncertainty of the expenses that we don't know. Inflation is a big one. The stock market fluctuation is a big one. And health expenses in retirement is a big one, like long-term care is a big expense in retirement if it happens. So getting everything together, getting everything organized, and then looking at it over the long term is what I would suggest for budgeting. Most people don't even make a budget. So if you're thinking about making a budget for retirement, congratulations to you. You are way ahead of the game. A lot of people in this country, I heard it was 42%, don't even make a budget. They just retire. There's so many tools out there available to help you. I hope this has encouraged you to think about some of the things that you need to consider when you're planning for retirement and some tools that are available out there. If you're interested in using our free financial planning tool, we'll put a link for it below in the description. And I think I've linked to it in every episode. So I hope this has been interesting and fun. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us today and have a wonderful day. Take care.